Hello everyone, my name is Arya and welcome to a bit of an update video, and one that I admittedly didn't really want to make, but here we are. This video is going to be, like I said, a bit of an update on some unfortunate events that have happened in my life recently, and how this is going to affect the channel and my upload schedule over hopefully no longer than the next few weeks, along with just a general channel update at the end of all of this. I couldn't get any good background footage for Hunt and wanted to get this video out sooner rather than later, so enjoy a quick little run of Black Ops 3 Zombies Origins. If you just want a quick summary of what's going on and how it's going to affect the channel for the time being, you can skip to this timestamp right here, but for anyone who's interested in hearing the full story behind all of this, let me tell you. Earlier this year, I decided to move out of my parents' house and in with one of my best friends, since this is the first time that I've been financially stable enough to support myself on my own, partly thanks to all of you wonderful people, so this really felt like a good opportunity and one that I should take. As we started looking for a place to live, we ended up viewing this very nice basement suite, which is ultimately where we are currently. Lots of space, new appliances, free on-site parking, it was lovely, and by the end of the viewing the landlord basically said if we give him a deposit, we can have this place whenever we wanted it. Naturally, since we thought the suite was amazing, we said yes. Now, I'm obviously not going to dox the landlord by saying his name or anything, but to give an idea of who we're working with, he's a bit of an older gentleman and English wasn't his first language, or at least that's how it seemed. He was respectful enough throughout the viewing, but me and my roommate kind of just got some weird vibes from him. Sayings and friendly jokes that we made really just did not land, and he was very insistent on telling us how good the suite was, what an affordable price it was, and also how much he disliked certain previous tenants for things that they did, such as partying too much, multiple times throughout the viewing. At the time, we thought nothing of it, and we put down our deposit and went about our lives until about a week before move-in day, which was May 1st. We did another formal viewing, basically just confirming everything was still good since it'd been over a month since we'd last seen the place, and the landlord and his wife, who we hadn't met until now, gave us a sort of house rules for us to look over. Most of it was pretty normal sounding, pay your rent on time, keep the noise down past 11 p.m., so on and so forth. But there were a few that kind of stuck out to us as a little bit odd. One of them being unregistered guests must leave the suite by 11 p.m. or else tenants will have to pay a $25 fine, is illegal as deemed by the Board of Tenants. There's no such thing as unregistered or registered guests in Canada, and they can't fine us for having someone spend the night if we don't tell them first. At the time, we just thought, let's play along with it for now, and we're trying not to start an argument with the landlords a few days before move-in day. However, keep this rule in mind because it'll be important later on. Anyways, my roommate got permission to move some of the smaller items into the suite a few days early, just to minimize the amount of physical labor that would happen on move-in day. I was not present for this because I was working and had about a quarter of the amount of stuff that she did, so I could easily move it in just a few trips. So she starts moving stuff in, and the landlord is standing there the entire time watching her and asking questions about all of her belongings, which is a bit of a red flag. My roommate has a pretty beefy PC, and the landlord of course asked, why do you have such a powerful PC, and what do you need it for? She mentioned that she streams over on Twitch, which the landlord said is prohibited in the suite because in his eyes it counts as running a business out of their basement. This is obviously a problem for me, as again, streaming and my other forms of content creation are how I pay for necessities like groceries and gas for my car. However, nowhere in the lease that we later signed did it mention anything about streaming, and the only place that it was mentioned was in those vague house rules that we got. Again, we never signed those, just verbally agreed to them, and with our own internet there was no real way of them knowing that we were streaming, but this is yet another red flag. Another red flag that I haven't mentioned until now is the obscene amount of cameras around the outside of the property. We're talking about 15 cameras that are constantly recording and displayed to a TV in their living room, and an audible alarm that goes off if anybody even steps foot on the property, regardless of the time of day. I can understand having a few around, especially since the landlord likes to collect and restore older cars, but at a certain point, it just starts to feel excessive and like a damn surveillance state every time you step outside. The cameras also record audio, which neither I or my roommate were told about. It was only mentioned to one of the people helping us move, who then told us later. This is not only another red flag, but the landlords are also required to disclose this to the tenants, specifically if they are being recorded for both audio or video. Then, when we went to go sign the lease on the night of the move-in, our landlord imposed other costs on us that were never previously discussed, such as paying extra for laundry, to which when told he never said anything about that, he insisted that he did in a rather aggressive tone and threatened to just remove the machines if we didn't like his terms. Oh, and would you look at that? Another red flag. It was at this point that I asked about the unregistered guests rule and what it actually meant since it was so vague, since my girlfriend who lives out of town was coming to stay the night and wanted to see the new place to help me unpack. Their response was, "We just want to know who's going in and out of the suite, so just let us know." So I let them know that she was coming over and that weekend went well. Fast forward to the next weekend, and my girlfriend is also coming over again because the fair is in town and the two of us got some friends together to have a fun night out. At this point, I had not let the landlords know in advance because the lease that we signed says that tenants are allowed to have guests over and that landlords cannot unreasonably restrict that. I was planning on telling them the day of just to again play by their rules and keep them sweet, but I had just done about 4 hours of driving since my girlfriend doesn't drive and I needed to pick her up from the town over, and I wanted to recover from that before I talked to the landlords. Even if their rule of unregistered guests was legal and needed to be followed, the fact that unregistered guests must be out by 11 p.m. implies that we can have guests over without telling the landlords until 11 p.m. So about an hour goes by, I start my stream for the day, and my girlfriend asks if she can borrow my keys to go to the convenience store nearby to get something to drink. I say sure and tell her to take my keys so she can get back inside. And as soon as she steps outside, the landlord confronts her because he is watching his cameras for when she would leave because he's a miserable old man with nothing better to do, and he starts harassing her. Trigger warning right now if you are not a fan of harassment. The very first thing that he says to her is, "This is not a whorehouse. You can't be here." And when my girlfriend tries to defuse the situation and introduce herself like a normal human being and shake his hand, he refused her offer and said, "I'm not touching you." He then kept harassing her about why she had my keys and eventually told her to go back inside and pack her things to leave because she wasn't welcome here. So she comes back downstairs in tears, and I stop my stream because now I need to go talk to my landlord and figure out what the hell is going on. So I go to the front door and knock, and he opens it and just starts shouting at me. I am not exaggerating when I say I could barely get a single sentence out before he would interrupt me by shouting and acting like a tough guy. "You crossed the line this, you don't mess with me that," those kind of responses. This lasted for about a minute and a half before he just straight up told me, "Pack your garbage and get out," before slamming the door in my face. So I knocked again because he never truly explained to me what I did wrong and I wanted a proper answer. This time, his wife did most of the talking, and I was able to have a proper conversation with her about what had happened and why exactly they were upset. Apparently, they assumed that my girlfriend was living with us, which is insane, seeing as she had only previously come over for a single night the weekend before, and if all had gone according to plan, she would have only been here for another night, a single one, that current weekend. But apparently, that's too much because she's using the shower and the laundry machines, and who's paying for all of that? Me. And my roommate. That's who. My girlfriend had never even used the laundry machines, and I'm not going to deny a guest a shower if they're staying the night, especially when we already pay 40% utilities. The husband also kept yelling about other things that we did that pissed him off, like taking 15-minute showers, which is apparently too long for his liking, and also means that he's been timing our showers like some sort of creep. But anyways, I eventually explained that my girlfriend was not in fact living with us and went back downstairs because I didn't do anything wrong, and this was all just a huge misunderstanding that got blown out of proportion in the most unnecessary way imaginable. We ended up not going to the fair that evening because it was just a very traumatizing day for both me and my girlfriend, and I ended up just taking her home that evening to try and reduce the chance of more potential conflicts. That was not a fun day for me, and when the adrenaline of it all finally wore off, I was in a very depressive state, ended up not eating for 9 hours, and then cried myself to sleep that night. Fun times! And don't worry, I'm okay now, and I've talked to my therapist extensively about all of this, so don't worry about that. So as of right now, my roommate and I are looking for a new place, and are going to be giving our 1 month's notice at the start of June, which unfortunately means we're going to have to pay another month's rent here, but we simply just can't stay here when you don't feel comfortable doing things as simple as bringing guests over. And to be quite honest with you, I just don't feel emotionally safe in this place, as if the landlord wants conflict, he will get it, due to us not being able to leave the suite without being monitored or setting off alarms. So what does this mean for the future? Well, we're moving again, obviously, and we plan to move out on the 1st of June, either into a new place, or if we haven't found one yet, I'll go back to my parents for a little bit, and my roommate will crash at a friend's house until we do find somewhere else to go. We do have plans to bring our current landlord to the Board of Tenants, as from what it looks like with a bit of research, he broke the lease with his actions, which means that we could likely get all of the money we gave him for the month of May back, as well as potentially laying some other charges on him for just how he treated me and my girlfriend. Now, what does this mean for the channel, streams, and all my other forms of content in the meantime? Well, hopefully I'll be productive enough to put together some videos to schedule for when I'm moving, but streams will likely not happen for the last week of May and probably the first few days of June. I also put my OnlyFans on a bit of a hiatus when I initially moved back at the start of May, and was planning on starting it up again after we settled into our current place, but with everything that's happened, I've just been slowly trying to recover, and have not been in the right headspace to take those kinds of photos and videos. Hopefully though that will resume once we leave this current place. I may also upload a few smaller, maybe not even hunt-related, or at least not hunt gameplay-related videos in this process, or shortly after while I'm still adjusting to whatever the current situation is. And as voted by you all, the community, if I were to make some non-hunt related videos, you said you would like to see them here on the main channel. And I know I put out another poll asking what specifically you would like to see, and the Terraria Master Mode playthrough is currently happening. I'll actually be streaming it on Twitch the day this video goes live, but that's going to take a while to actually complete due to the nature and length of a Terraria playthrough, so I'll find some smaller stuff to upload and experiment with in the meantime. Hunt content is not going anywhere though, and will still be a main staple of the channel, and I do have some other non-gameplay related hunt videos that I want to make, so keep an eye out for those in the future. But that's pretty much all I have to say right now. I'll post updates on the situation in the community tab whenever I feel it's relevant, because I think it's super important to keep you all well informed. Thank you all so much for watching to the end of the video as well. It really means a lot to have complete strangers who are genuinely interested and sympathetic toward the events of my life, and I appreciate all of the support and love that I have already gotten from all of you. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video, which should hopefully have a much happier tone. Love you all, and bye-bye.